Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Functionality in Dynamics GP compared to Dynamics 365 Business Central. Today's session is focusing on the general ledger as well as bank reconciliation. My name is Katie and I'll be the facilitator today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question area in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen and we'll answer questions at the end. The session will be recorded and posted on our blog as well as shared with you early next week. Now, I would like to introduce our presenter today, Dawn McNulty, who is a solutions architect here at Encore. Dawn, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Katie. So today what we're going to talk about is the functionality of GP versus the functionality in D365 Business Central. So GP and BC work very similarly. They are different programs completely, but what we'll be going through is that kind of information. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about adding GL codes. How do we add them in GP? And then how do we add them in Business Central? And show you the different features of both of those. Then we'll go through entering some standard journal entries and show you what the journal entry screen looks like and how you can easily use Excel and some other things in some of the products. From there, we'll then flip over to bank rec, and the banking side, we'll add a checkbook on both sides, same thing, and then we'll enter transactions and adjustments, or at least a transaction against them, and then we'll go into reconciling bank. So the idea behind this is to kind of give you an idea how the core finance module works in both of these systems. Shouldn't take us too long to do this. We should be done in about 25 minutes or so, and then we'll have some time for any questions that you've got at the end. So we're going to start with the general ledger. So the idea with the GL, there's a couple of the biggest change that people find is that when you look at an account structure in GP, you have segmentation. Now I am using a sample company. Both my companies are exactly the same. They're called Fabricam Limited. They have exactly the same chart of accounts. They have exactly the same vendors and exactly the same customers. This is a migrated GP Business Central that we'll be using so that you can see the two, one on each side with very similar transactions. So when I bring up a transaction inside here, and I'm going to use a revenue account, inside here you have to know the account number. So inside here we can do a lookup in through here. We can go find the account number. We can search by the account number and we can find the one that we're looking for. So we're going to use 4100 sales is what we're going to use. So there it is there. It's a sales account. Category is sales. This is how you set it up in GP. You specify whether it's a balance sheet or profit loss, debit or credit account, etc. And that's pretty well all you've got inside here. You can potentially add currencies if necessary, but we'll just leave it at that. So that's what it is there. So, and then we can save this and enter another one, and we just have to make sure that we put in a category and a description. Okay? So very standard. The segmentation is important because the three segments allow us to divvy this up to different departments and different divisions based on, I think this is department and this is division. And what we're going to do is we're going to show that this does not exist in Business Central, these three segments. There are segments, but they are not combined together like this. They are built on the fly. So what we do in Business Central, I'm going to pop over to Business Central right now, and let me just go back to Finance and go to Chart of Accounts. So when you look at a chart of accounts, this is the chart of accounts. It gives you a complete list of the chart of accounts instead of a screen. And then you go and select the account. And you'll see that it's just a 4-digit number. So I'm going to filter this. I've already built this filter for 4,000 to 4,199, just so that we can see this. There it is there. And there's 4,100. So this, whoops, my apologies. I clicked a second time. 4,100 is right here. There's my balance in it. And again, I've got my account type. Is it a posting account or not? Is it an income statement or balance sheet? What category is it in? And then we also have what's called a subcategory. And you'll notice inside here, I've got income listed inside here quite a few times and things like that. So, and when I go into an account, if I just click on the account, it brings up the account card. Now, this is the same as the screen that we just saw inside GP. And what we've got inside here is we've got a lot more information that we can attach to the chart of accounts. This is true on vendors and customers as well. So inside here, we've got sales general, and then I've got an income statement. I got an account category called income, and I got a subcategory called income as well. So I could specify my incomes in my different categories, and I can have a nested approach to this. The chart of accounts in Business Central, you'll notice here that's only 4,100, and we had two other segments that we wanted to attach. So when I click on the account up at the top here, I have what's called a dimension, and inside the dimension, I can add my department and my division. I can default them if I wish to, and there's my 00 for the department, as I said, and the division is the first one, which is the 000. So if I wanted it to always go to 000 and always go to 00, I can set it up like this, like so. Excuse me. I can also go over to here and say, okay, while I want it to default to 00, I'll allow it to have 00 to say 19 instead of 99 to only 20. So it can only be in 00, 10, and 20. I can actually filter this stuff out inside here. And I can make this code mandatory, or I can make it blank, means it doesn't have to be there, but can be. Mandatory means you must fill it in, must be filled in with something. Doesn't have to be 00, it could be whatever is allowed inside here. So you can restrict things from being in the wrong department. So if you've got a rent bill, for instance, and there's only rent in Vancouver and Seattle, then but no rent in your Calgary office, you could make this 00 and 00 for Vancouver and 10 for Calgary, or whatever you wanted it to be. So that's what we've got inside here. So that's what, and we use the same code or no code. I'm going to leave it blank so I can post wherever I like. And I'm going to just get rid of this because I don't need it to default. Like that. And we can go back to our chart. Now, other things inside the chart, we've got some different postings inside here, different posting types, valuation. This is the revaluation for the multi-currency. We had that in GP. If you remember, we have that currency button where I could attach different currencies. Inside here, I've got same currency, and then what's the source currency if I wish to only assign a single currency. Consolidation, if you have consolidated statements, you can have a consolidation account, so that's fine. And then we've got some rate exchange, etc. So really what it is, and if you hit the where used, it'll tell you where this particular account is used, something that we don't have in GP. And it says that it's actually in the general posting setup underneath this product group GP, and underneath this product group GP as well. So we've got the sales account showing there. So it shows that it's actually in a default account. It's a default account for one of my items is actually what it is. So there it is there. So that's how we add a new GL code. Now, dimensions are great because you can attach them as required without having to add new GL codes. So if I add a new department, all I have to do is add a dimension for, say, 01, and then I can use 01 against any of my accounts, and it will build that combination for us as we move forward. The other thing that you also have on the account card, like the other one, is a summary, and if I click on my GL balance by dimension, you can actually look at this by dimension, and this will show you the different pieces with the different filters. And if I show the matrix, should show monthly, there it is there, I have got this account inside here. If I drill on the account, or on the amount, I should say, sorry. If I drill on the amount inside here, you'll see that this is going to 000 4110 02, 000 4110 01. So these are the different pieces that we've got, and I've got it filtered this way so that you can see some of this. And this then shows you that same structure that you saw inside GP. I have arranged this screen this way myself. All these screens are adjustable inside Business Central as well, so that you don't have to tab through fields you don't want. Oops, let me close this. All right. So now we're going to talk about balances. Now, when you go into GP and we look at a balance, we take a look at a balance, we can click on a balance inside here, and this will give me a list of all the transactions that make that up. And you'll see I've got 300, 4100, 01, I've got 0000, I've got blank, 4100, 02. So I can have any combination inside here that I wish, and I can put the information against it. I can control this, as I said earlier, based on making the code mandatory and giving it specific items. It's a matter of setup when you implement Business Central. So when you look at that, there is, of course, the currency button down the bottom here, and this is where you set your revaluation. But it's very straightforward. You just hit this, and you can then pick your revalue, and you can revalue net change or offset or whatever it happens to be, and you have what currency you wish to have. Same kind of fields exactly. Let me just go save, and we will save this account. We'll close. Now, when we go back to GP, we're going to talk about journal entries. So journal entries are stuff that we do at the end of each month. We do our payroll journal entries. We do our insurance journal entries. We do a whole bunch of different journal entries. And in GP, it's a fairly straightforward process. Again, you've got it is on both of them. In this transaction entry, in this transaction entry, we have the ability inside here to do a journal entry. So as I pop through here, I'm going to put it in a test batch just so that we can take a look at it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up this one here. There it is there. So this is a journal entry, $210, $200, 10%, $10 GST, and $210 total. It's coming out of petty cash, going to sales. So it's a reference for a journal entry. We key in a reference inside here, and it could be, petty cash sale or whatever it happens to be. And if we need additional descriptions, we do have the ability to put an additional description inside here, as well as these two new fields that showed up in 18.6 or 18.5. So those particular ones are there. So then we can put in some information against this, and that will be what we have inside this journal entry. We can post it if it's not in a batch, or we can save it if it is in a batch. I'm just going to quickly save this, and I'm going to pop over to here, and I'm going to go to Finance and General Journals. And I've created a batch header inside here called Test, exactly the same way. We hit the test. And when we open up Test, anything that's in Test is going to show up on the screen. And so there we are here. So as you see here, there's my 200, there's my 10, there's my 210. I have exactly the same journal entry entered. And I've entered an account number, a department code, and a division code. These codes are dimensions. They don't have to be here, but I wanted to match it up. So this is how I would then enter this. This document number here allows me to pop this all the way across. There are additional pieces of information as we move across here. When we go past there, we have an amount. We cannot use debits and credits. We could get rid of these two columns and not only use positives and negatives. Negatives for credits, positives for debits, and then we would just enter the one amount. The difference between these two here is functional versus originating in terms that people understand inside Great Plains. The dollar value that you see here is the dollar value of the local currency. So if this was a US based transaction, these are Canadian. We're in a Canadian company. If we were to do that, this would then show 160, I guess it would be, 142 or whatever it is today. So that would be 142 US, and this would be whatever the math is on that. And then we would have each of these this would be balanced, and this would be balanced. We'd be able to post it. We'd have a currency code in here, so we can then select our currencies. You'll notice I only have 3 currencies: Euro, Mexican, and US dollars. Those are the only 3 I've got set up for this company. The Canadian is not set up. It does not need to be set up, as the local currency is used as a blank. Okay, we don't have to set the currency for the local currency. We have different things over here. We have this called a balance account, and I wanted to quickly mention this one that if I go like this and I go to a document, I create a new document just by clicking on that. You'll notice that it's got a new document number. I've got a GL code. So I'm going to go into here. When I want to look up a GL code, instead of having to go like this and clicking on here and then scrolling down through the numbers, I can type what I know about this. So I can go travel. So I can just go TRAV, and it'll find everything that starts with travel. So I'm going to pick 6520. And then inside here, I can then select my department and my division. So I'm going to put this to the north. And I can put a division if I wish, or I can leave this blank. I'm going to put it to admin. So admin travel. I'm going to click on the description inside here and go Don's travel account. Like so. I'm going to come across to here, and I'm going to put in a debit amount because I want to debit this account. I'm going to debit this for, say, $500 because I'm taking a flight. Perfect. There we are. Now, if this was just to be paid with petty cash, I could actually go right over here to a balance account and type in here, I can put in petty cash. There's petty cash, like so, done. Now, because this is 500 here, and because I put a balance account, this line is now balanced. So when I go to the post print here, there's a preview posting. I'm going to preview the posting here. Yep. Yeah, I know it's after the working date. That's fine. There we are. There's a GL entry. There are 5 entries there. And the 3 entries that you saw that I keyed individually, and you'll notice that this has now been broken into the 2 entries. Single line, 2 entries. So when you've got a debit and a credit that's equal, you can put it on a single line. If you need multiple lines, you can put them on multiple lines, as you can see here. That's been done from here. So, and then there are my dimensions being shown here, so I can see what's going on. And if I scroll across here, I can see things such as source currency, and if there was a source amount, it would be here. So any of your pieces inside here. Again, the no balance account inside. These 2 are the balance accounts because they're the offsets of each other, and that's what we would have. And then we could post this if we wanted to. So then we can, I'm not going to bother posting. But the idea is you just hit the post button and away it goes. And you can post as many transactions as you want inside this batch. By clicking here and show more options, you can hit select more. It gives you a list here, and if I want to post everything on the screen, I just click that button, and then I hit the post button. If I only wanted to post the bottom one, I can just highlight the bottom one like this and go post, and then it would only post the one. So that's kind of how it works. Everything inside this, the test batch is really just a repository for where it is, so that you can keep them separate between multiple users. So you could, it could be called, it could be a date with a name after it, like we do in GP a lot of times, or it can be whatever you wish it to be. So from there. Now, one thing I would like to mention is that on the GL, so that's kind of how those 2 things work. But one thing I wanted to show today was that when I go to a chart of accounts like this, and I got my chart of accounts listed here, and I'm looking down this list and thinking to myself, oh, gee, that one's not right, and maybe this one's not, and this current assets should be something else. It should be accounts receivable instead. I want to change these from current assets. I want to change this one and all the references to it. But I've got, a fair number of accounts in here that I got to go through. You can go up to here, and there is a button inside here that you can open in Excel. If I open it in Excel, it's like a smart list export to Excel. It puts all the information into an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can work with it and do what you want. But the more powerful one is an edit in Excel. And I've already hit the edit in Excel on this particular one. And what you get is you get this add-in. It automatically loads the add-in once you get started on this. And then this will pop up. Now, this is assuming you've got the right security rights for it. So inside here, I can hit refresh. And I'm just refreshing the data. And you'll notice inside here that the savings account is listed as current assets instead of cash. So inside here, this is just a spreadsheet. So I can do whatever I want in here. So I'm going to type in here, I'm going to type in the word cash, like so. And down here, I'm going to go Control C, and I'm going to go Control V, and I'm going to put in accounts receivable. There we are. Perfect. No problem. So then what I can do is I can hit publish. So when I hit publish, it publishes it out. 2 changes, writes the cash, everything's up to date. Not a problem. So now when I go back to Fabricam, and I click out of the chart of accounts, and then just go back in just to refresh the screen, you'll now see that those accounts receivable things that accounts receivable has been changed and the cash has been changed. So you can easily change the chart of accounts. It will allow you to change things such as the names and the categories and things like that. What it does not allow you to change is anything that's auditable. So all these numbers, I cannot change that $4,835 without doing a journal entry because, of course, that would throw my GL out if I did that. So we can't have that. But the idea is that we can change a bunch of different things inside here, and you can change a lot of the different pieces like currency. I could fill in the same currency here if I wanted to. and I could add additional currency codes if required. And I can do it on a more global basis by using the Excel spreadsheet. The same is also true when you look at this. So if I go into here and I change this to 17, and I just change this to 17 and go Control V. So there, if I now go publish, it publishes the data, process 3 changes, and now when I go back to my general journal, the same thing is going to apply. So when I click on here and then I click on test, you'll see that instead of being 15 and 16, it's now 17. And I can add additional transactions and things like that as required inside Excel, and I can copy and paste them in. I can also copy and paste directly from Excel into any of the fields that are listed on this here, and you can copy them out and then make the changes and copy them back in again. Just go copy, Control C and Control V does a very good job. All right. So that is the general ledger. So the next thing I want to talk about is, we'll go to the next slide. So the next thing is bank rec. So inside the bank rec, I'm going to add a checkbook. I'm going to show you how to put a transaction in. And I'm going to show you how to look at a reconciliation. Okay. So under the bank rec, we go back to GP. We'll start with GP. And we click on checkbook. And the checkbook I'm going to do the bank rec on is Uptown Trust because it has some transactions. First Bank does not. So inside here, we set the GL code. That's not a problem. We've got the US bank account in this particular case. I've got a couple of transactions inside here and some max checks and things like that. This one here is fairly straightforward. If I need to put my EFT information inside here, I would put it inside here. I pick a country, and then I can fill in the transit number, the bank number, and some information so that I can create my EFT files for both payables and receivables. And then if I have some direct deposit transactions, this is the direct deposit that we want to use. So this direct deposit's for AR. This EFT is more for the checks and things like that. We got payment types and things like that. So I'm going to just hit save on that. This is what we put in on each one. We again, it's a tab through all these to add them on. We're going to put in the company address and a bank ID and things like that. So we hit save. So same screen inside Business Central. It's under bank accounts. Again, I got that same list. I'm going to click on First Bank because that's the one I'm going to do the bank rec on because that's the one I put all the transactions into. So inside here, I specify whether it's got a currency, use default for the currency, what my format's going to be on my check, something that we had to hard code into the report writer inside GP, but we can put it here. So if you need the underscores or anything like that to meet CPA standards, you can do so. You can use a slash or a dash or a none and things like that. You've got different pieces of information in here, but you'll notice inside here I have a bank account number and a branch number. So these bank account numbers and branch numbers are integral to this because there's bank payment services and things that it hooks up directly to the banks for you. Underneath communication, who do I send, who do I contact, and things like that, what communication language, etc. Currency code, I've got blank because this is going to be a Canadian bank, so that's what I've done. What's the next check number? What's the last remittance advice? I can create remittance advices that are different, so when the remittance advice goes out, it has its own numbering system. And then we've got our payment reconciliations inside there as well. We also have some bank transit information. This is for transfers and payment export files. We can pick things such as CA default, Mexican default, different ones are available, EFTs and things like that, so that they will create the correct file format. Also has the same list inside here. Once you've created one, you get a list of your PosiPay if you're using Positive Pay. In GP, it's an extra module called Positive Pay. Inside Business Central, it's just a core feature. So that's what we've got inside here. Now, when I click on bank account up top here, I can attach dimensions to this account. So when I look at this, I go, okay, where's my GL code? one of the things is that we don't have it doesn't look like we've got a GL code attached. But the GL code is actually attached in the bank posting code. So when I click on the bank posting code, let me just click on here. We'll select from, we'll go show details. So this is, and that's where the GL code is attached. So it's attached in the background so you can use it for multiple, so it's potentially used in multiple locations. In the bank, it's a one-to-one relationship. So this is what the bank account looks like. As you navigate through, you've got a lot of different things. It'll show you all your ledger entries. So if I click on ledger entries inside here, it shows me all the transactions that are currently in the bank and whether they're open or not inside here as to whether they've been reconciled or whatever. So we've got the bank ledger entry. So this would then match up to your bank record if you wanted to take a look at it at any given time. It's always right there at your fingertips. So that's the two things about the bank. Now, the bank statement service, there is a bank statement service. You can link to an online bank. So when you link into bank accounts and you create a new linking, it will download the bank statement for you so that you've got the bank's information on one screen, on one side of the screen, and the your information on the other, and then you can do some matching accordingly. So that's kind of what we've got for the bank accounts itself. So next is the transaction. So under a transaction, they're payment journals or whatever they happen to be. But the nice thing inside GP for our transactions, what we use is we use the bank transaction screen. And inside here, we've got a note. I'm just going to do a check. Checkbook is going to be Town Trust, like so. Paid to, and we're going to put $100. Like so. Automatically puts in the credit for me, and then it asks me what I want to do inside here. If I don't know the account for travel, I can go into here and I can click on description and I can type in travel and see if I can find it. There's my travel accounting. I'm going to put it to 165.20 travel admin. So there we are. There, I'm going to put $100. There we are. There's the transaction. In GP, the only option you've got at this point is either to post it. So I can hit post, and it'll post it through, and then I can close it, and I'll just kill the posting journal. So that's how I do that transaction there. Now on the it's under a general journal. You can do it under a general journal. So we can go back to our same test batch here, like so. And when I click on here, I can go across here, and let's go. Like so. If the account type, if I can click on here and I can pick up customers and vendors, so I can actually do invoices here as well. But most importantly, I can hit a bank account. And then inside here, the external document number is 1234 check, CHK. We'll just put a check there. And then the account number that I want to hit is travel. Oops. And let me just see here. Oh, wait, that's the bank. Sorry. I pick up my first bank because that's my bank. And then I come across to here and I'm going to credit it $100, same as I did before. Now, I could go over to here and then just put in a balance account, but then I got a problem that I don't have the right, I may not have the right dimensions. So I'm going to go to here, 18 is going to pick it up, and instead of being a bank account, I'm just going to pick a GL code, and I'm going to type in travel. Oops, come on. There's travel admin. And again, I'm going to put it into 00, and I'm going to put it into 100, the same as we did on the other one. And this is going to be a debit for $100. And now we're ready to go. So now this is actually going to hit the bank. So if I go back to my post print and I hit the preview posting, yeah, that's fine. I know it's beyond today's date. There's both a GL entry, 7, and 1 bank account entry. When I hit the bank account entry, it says that it's going to First Bank, and there it is there. It's got no dimension attached to it. When I look at the journal entry, I'll have the 2 transactions at the bottom that make the balanced entry right there. So that's all set to go. So that could now be posted. Close that. I'm going to close that. So that's how you get a transaction into the bank. You can do it through a general journal. That's how a lot of people do it. It also, of course, picks up into the bank all checks and all deposits from accounts receivable and accounts payable. So the next piece, and the last piece for today, is on the bank rec. So when I go into a reconcile bank rec inside GP, I go to click on First Bank. Whoops. I did say earlier that I was using Uptown Trust because it has transactions. We go Save, and we go to Transactions, and we've got a list of transactions. In order to do this particular bank rec, we would have a bank statement beside us or on another screen. We would come in here and start to select the ones that match up with you. You click them manually like this based on what you see on your statement. And then when this 480490 goes to 0, you'd be able to hit the reconcile and your bank rec would be done. Anything that's missing on your bank statement, you would then enter bank transactions and refresh this and then keep going like that. That's what you're doing on a day-to-day basis inside GP. So now let's go take a look at what we would do inside the bank module inside Business Central. So when we go into bank reconciliations, we get a list of the banks, and I'm going to use First Bank because that's the one that, as I said, I've got the transactions for. So when I open up this transactions, I've already done this. So what would happen is that on this side here, this is the bank statement lines. Because we've hooked up a file, you can download a file from most of the major banks, and you can download the file and you can upload it inside here. You can process inside here. You can transfer the GL under the postings or under the bank. So under the bank, I can import my bank statement. It would overwrite all of this information that you see on the left. It would add to that based on what's on that new statement. Now, you'll see that some of these things match up, 2244 and things like that. So what we have inside here is matching, and it uses Copilot to do this. And when I hit the match automatically, it's going to match automatically. It's going to pop up. It's going to ask me, what's my tolerance? So the bank statement has got a posting date or a transaction date that will be X days from when you actually issued the check. So if I issued a check on the 1st of January and I put it in the mail, you probably need to give them 10 or 20 days to clear it. So I'm going to put in 15 and I'm going to go okay. Now when I go okay, it works on it. There's 14 out of 29 are matched, and I go okay. So there we are there. So I've got this 2298, and you'll see this 2298 here does not match. It does match, but you'll notice that it's outside of 30 days. I could just click on this inside here and match it. I would 2298, and then like so, and then I can hit the match at the top. And then I can match manually. So then I can keep matching, and then I would match it. But you'll see that it's done most of the work already for you. Got almost all my transactions inside here. I've got a few inside here which do not match up on this side. So this 2298 is the core one, this travel one here, 1003, 1003. This is a date issue. The others are just on my bank statement, but not yet in Business Central. So somebody has done some work online, maybe paid some bills online without doing the actual entry in Business Central. We hope they don't do that, but it happens that way. We put in the back end statement and things like that. Again, what we do is when the difference gets to 0, we can process the bank rec and we can post it. So when I click on posting, I post and print, and I can hit the test report. If I hit a test report, I think this one should work. We go preview. And there it is there. So there's the applied entries and the applied amount. There's your differences there. I'm out $8,000. So this gives me a report that I can deal with on what we need to have. So there's statement amount, the applied amount, and things like that. So we've got all these different amounts inside here. So that gives you kind of the idea of what you can do inside the bank rec. All right, I ran a couple of minutes over, but the next thing is, are there any questions?
All right, thanks, Don. We do have a couple questions. Maybe because we ran a bit over, I'll try to squeeze them into the next 5 minutes here, if that's okay.
Yep.
In the meantime, if anybody does have any additional questions, please put them into the question area. I'm going to go ahead and share the link to our events page, where you can check out some upcoming sessions and register for previous webinars as well. I'm also going to add the link to where you can set your email preferences and opt in to different emails so that you can stay in the know about more upcoming events as well as blog articles. So those are both in the chat now. But the first question here, Dawn, and I believe this was from the general ledger side of the presentation for chart of accounts, is does the description carry forward automatically to the next line, or do you have to re-enter the description? Along with that, does the description field have a character limit?
It does have a character limit. It's longer than the GP one, but it does have one. When you click on the chart of accounts and you hit new, the
Oh,
name is
sorry.
over there.
Those are for journal entries. Sorry, Don.
Oh, for journal entries.
Yes,
I thought you said chart. Okay.
I did. Sorry, I'm correcting myself on that one.
That's all right. No problem. All right. So, so we're talking about this account name and this account description. The account description automatically flips down. When you go to the next line, it does not automatically copy this down. So if I was to add another line here, and I go travel, if I then come into here and I put in $100 here, if I click on the next line, it does not copy it down. And if I then put in petty cash, oops, that's stalling. You'll notice that the description is always the account name, is what defaults in there. As for how big it is, quite a bit bigger than GP. GP is only 30 characters. This one's like, I believe it's 50, but I'd have to check. I have not actually finished and checked it. But yes, you can type in a lot more information inside there if you need to. You also have other information attached to it. You can put in information inside here, and you can also the journal check, and you've got other pieces of information as well that you can then add into there as well. So, okay, next question.
Yes, and this one, I believe it's on the bank rec side of the presentation.
Okay.
Journal entries, are they automatically posted into the reconciliation module?
Uh, a journal entry is as long as when you do a journal entry, it gets automatically put into the reconciliation module as long as you've got a bank account type. A GL account number, if I was to key in a GL account number that was a bank account number as a GL entry, it will not be part of the bank rec. And in actual fact, it's a very good question because underneath your chart of accounts, when you grab an account, and one of the reasons I was using petty cash instead of the 1100 is that inside 1100, what you can do is you can not allow direct posting. So this stops you from entering 1100 as a GL code, as a GL entry, because it doesn't hit the bank rec. You must put it in. Much like in GP, you have the allow account entry as well. So it's called direct posting here rather than allow account entry, but that's basically you have to be in a sub ledger which sees it as a bank account. So if it doesn't see it as a bank account, it will not let you post to it. And that way you don't end up with transactions being entered on the GL against your account when in actual fact it should have been a bank transaction. Okay, so it's very much the same. And GP, just so that if people have seen it, is that when I go into my accounts inside here, and if I go like so, This allow account entry does the same thing as that direct posting. Stops me from being able to hit that one so that you don't do that. You should always do that for your accounts receivable, accounts payable control accounts, inventory control accounts, and your bank books. Those are the five main ones. The other one that you might want to do that on is the receive not invoiced in GP, because that's the other one that causes us lots of grief over the time. Okay?
Right. I'm going to do one more question, and then for any additional questions, we will get back to you by email later today, just because we are over time. So the last question for today is related. It's how does Business Central deal with unbalanced entries?
How does it deal with unbalanced entries? It doesn't post them. Just like GP, you have to print the report, take a look at them, and figure out what you need to do. If it's unbalanced, it will not post. It will come up and tell you, this is what I've got for my journal entries. I cannot post this because it is unbalanced. Just like GP does the same thing. If you've got an unbalanced journal entry and you try and save it, it'll warn you saying, I'm sorry, it's not balanced. It will not post, but it can be saved. Same here. I can enter a journal entry that's unposted. So if I go to here, and you'll see underneath my test, 19 is there, but at this point, it's not balanced because it's got no dollar value. So if I was to type in a credit here of 100 and like so, if I then go to post and print and preview posting, we go, yeah, sure, I want to see it. It tells me is out of balance. Please check the posting date, document type, and number and amount are correct for each line. In other words, you got to fix it. It's got to be balanced, or it will not post. It actually gets to this point, and then you can go from there, and then you can move forward from that. So, and the same would also be true if I was to do the same thing inside my transaction entry here. If I come down to here and I go like so, if I hit save, it goes, do you want to save the unbalanced entry? And then I hit save. And if I tried to post the batch, what it does is it takes this transaction and stuffs it into a recovery batch that you have to recover and then fix from there. Business Central just stops it posting and just doesn't let you go anywhere until you fix it. So that's the difference.
All right, thanks, Dawn.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, we are at time for today. So if anyone does have any questions that we were not able to get to, um, we will get back to you later today by email. All right, and then, as I said, the events link is in the chat, as well as where you can set your subscription email preferences is in the chat as well. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you, Dawn, for the presentation.
Thank you.